Better Questions, fam. Welcome to the show. We got Morgan Fisher today. This is a Better Questions first. I did not find her. Mackenzie found her, so that's cool. And we talk about faith. We talk about Protestant guilt, which I've never heard of. And so she said that ugly content is king. So she's a marketer for coaches. Super interesting gal. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in. We're live. Morgan Fisher, welcome to Better Questions. How are you today?
Good. Nice to meet you. Thankful to be here. Shout out to Ken's for connecting us.
You're the first person on my podcast that I didn't find myself, I think. So welcome.
I'm excited. Ken's has told me a lot of fascinating things. So I'm excited to hear more about your thoughts too.
Yeah, well, everybody gets to hear me run my mouth, so definitely I'll turn it over to you, and we might have to do episode 2 to get to me because I think you're a fascinating and unique creature. I don't mean to call you that, but like you're not coloring in the lines, so to speak, which is something that I'm fascinated by. So I'm happy to answer if there's any like quick questions where you're like, I got to ask him this, or I'd love to just tell your story and then we'll just see where the conversation goes. Either which way.
I'm totally open with just like flowing and seeing where it goes.
Okay, sweet. So Morgan, are you in California? Where's home?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, Nashville. And so it's my favorite piece of it is getting to know people without having, particularly when I don't know them. This also, like when I bring people on here, I realize how little I know about people that I think I know. But just take me from birth to today, and as many wickets as you want to hit on.
Yeah, awesome. So I actually was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I'm like a total automotive baby. Classic cars is what I grew up around. My parents owned like a Shell gas station. They were like serial entrepreneurs. My mom had like an embroidery business in the house while my dad was running the Shell and working on the classic cars. It was like an 8-head embroidery machine in the house because they just wanted to be able to like be around us while we were growing up. And so I've like lived and breathed entrepreneurship my whole life. And then on the other side of that, like both of my grandparents immigrated from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and my grandfather like designed the interior seats for cars at General Motors. And my grandma was like a factory worker in Belfast and Detroit. So a lot of just like entrepreneurship and a very like Protestant upbringing with like the immigrant grandparents living with the family and a lot of just like generational living together and shared space and like building as a family. And I had started doing these concerts to fundraise for kids in South Africa when I was a teenager. And that kind of came through a relationship that my parents had with people that ran an oil company, and they would do feeding and education in South Africa. And so my kind of first taste of entrepreneurship on my own was I would put on these benefit concerts all over Metro Detroit, and the proceeds would go to feeding and educating kids in South Africa.
I have to, 2 things. You were a child of how many? One of how many? Do you say 8?
There's 2 of us.
Okay, 1 of 2. Okay, I heard 8 and I was like, okay, 1 of 2. And then when you say, for those of us that aren't music people, which I appreciate the art of music, but I'm not a musician. I don't dabble in the space. Morgan put on a concert. That means you're like putting on events, or you're out there jamming, or you're actually like playing, or you are putting it on for somebody else?
So I was producing the events. And so that would be considered like booking the concerts, building up the production of the shows, marketing, like anything that needed to happen. I had to teach myself as a teenager. But the motive was like feeding and educating children.
Okay. Awesome. Very good.
And so that was kind of my first taste of entrepreneurship and how to like market anything. And I did that up until I was about 22. I went to college in Nashville for social entrepreneurship, which is basically the intersection of nonprofit management and business. So, any business degree that you would have, as well as like grant writing and any missions-based social ethics courses that would kind of integrate with that. That is kind of like where my journey started in university. I left and moved to Johannesburg, South Africa right after college to kind of fulfill the project that I built in college. So basically, by the time I was in college, we were feeding and educating about 6,000 children in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I moved over there to like really build out the infrastructure of those projects.
That is rad. So, okay. When did you graduate college? We don't want to age you, but
2013.
okay. So take me. I want to ask all about the Africa thing. I want to ask. I've seen your profile a little bit about the Protestant versus whatever we now call ourselves. I think we might be in the same class, but you graduated in 2013. You go to Africa for how long?
I was in Africa for a year and I was doing the content creation for the fundraising of the nonprofit. So that's when I got like a real taste of like marketing and storytelling for like the kids that we were supporting.
Okay. And then get me, so you're about 2014, 2015, last 10 years. What's the story? What's it sound like?
Yeah, so this is kind of a funny jump, but after about a year in South Africa, all those big questions came up of, are we doing this the most ethical way? Is this the best infrastructure for these kids? I needed to take a step back because I think my college experience really prepared me to ask the tough questions when I was actually in the field doing that work. And so after a year of like doing that work, I wanted to come home and kind of like reassess. And so I went on indeed.com to find a job in Nashville with a nonprofit. And I ended up working for a guy, his name's Jim Mayer, and he had like a social emotional learning program for kids. But I started working with him for a couple months, and come to find out, he's the bass player for Jimmy Buffett. And so
Yeah.
my like original passion for music and social justice kind of like intertwined again, because we were helping kids develop social emotional learning through music programs. And so, yeah, that kind of spiraled into me like tour managing Peter and Jim Mayer, who are brothers that both play guitar and bass for Jimmy Buffett, like going on the road with them and their concerts, supporting organizations in every city that we toured in.
That's incredible. So then, I mean, R.I.P. Jimmy, right?
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know we had to, I mean, everything kind of went on pause with COVID. And then, of course, Jimmy passing away.
So where does Morgan find herself? Condolences, obviously. Did you get to know him?
So I was more Peter and Jim's like day-to-day
Okay, got it.
management. Like we got to do shows with Jimmy and like Huey Lewis and stuff. And that was kind of the first time my parents were like, oh, music can be a real job,
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But what I really like started to fall in love with was the course world. So like Jim wanted me to help him sell bass lessons during COVID because musicians couldn't tour. And then I went into an agency where we specialized in the automotive niche. So before Uber and Lyft, there was like luxury ground transportation. And we taught the 7,000 operators in that industry how to market and build their companies to compete with Uber and Lyft. And so that's when I got into like Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, marketing for e-courses specifically. But my why still being, I want to help people at the end of the day. And maybe the most productive way I can do this is to get big money clients and then give back to the communities that I care about.
That's awesome. Okay, so and that's what you're doing. So that is 2 days. You're a coach, builder, and marketer, or just a coach marketer? I don't mean to say just, but just for people, if people want to work with you, what would they be coming to you for?
Yeah, so I'm a copywriter and content creator for marketing coaches online.
Got it. Okay. Wait, I want a copywriter, content creator for marketing coaches,
Mhm.
specifically for marketing coaches online. That's awesome. Maybe you can help me. I'm not a marketer. And then I got to know. So I wrote Ken's into the I call it the reckoning for good. How did she just find you on a cold call, or you guys are friends? I cannot remember.
We actually worked together at an e-course company previously.
Okay, cool. All right, now we get into the juice. I call it the juice. So like you obviously have a change you want to see in the world. I think I saw a few posts about it. So you have permission to haul off and wail on whoever it is that's bothering you or whatever it is that like I just want to give you don't hold any punches. I think we see the world similarly, and if we don't, that's even better because then I get to understand. So yeah, there's something I think something frustrates you somewhere. So tell me about it.
Yeah, I think for a long time, after leaving the missions and humanitarian field, especially with like the Protestant guilt that you kind of grew up with, is you always have to have a why that is connected to the church or missions. And so when I pivoted into marketing, I was like, I couldn't identify that marketplace ministry was something that I could do and it could be my why. And I think it just clicked for me in recent years that my big questions are like, why do we accept herd mentality? Like, why aren't we asking content creators what their credentials are? And like, why aren't we more curious about the things that we're consuming? And I think that that is when it really clicked for me that there can be mission and intention and purpose behind being a marketer and aligning myself with content creators that have convictions. But then we also live in this Netflix world where these like horror documentaries about influencers are coming out, and we're finding out that they're like not credentialed. There's actually a lot of like darkness behind what they're doing, and we're supplying that demand for them by viewing and sharing and commenting. And so I think we just need to be asking bigger questions about what we're consuming and why we consume it.
Hmm. And so did you you use Protestant guilt like it's a past tense? Would you still identify? I'm assuming that was a big part of your upbringing and there seems to be a schism, or is there no schism? You're still
I think I have more tools to navigate that now, and I think that I it's good to have those convictions in you. I think it's just what I needed to split was you don't have to be a missionary in Africa to make a difference in the world.
got it. And so would you still identify as Christian?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, you would. Okay, cool. And then would you um would you speak favorably about the church or
I have been in the depths of the megachurch. I have, been a producer in my free time at megachurches. And in the last few years, the journey I went on, I wouldn't say it was like fully deconstruction, but I think it was maybe like rebuilding what felt like true dedication and like reverence to my faith. I think that the megachurch is not something that I personally align with. I do see the fruit in it for other people and their journeys or where they're at in their faith. But for me, I think like having real reverence is going to a place where the walls aren't shaking and it's all about the music and the socialization of it. So yeah, I found myself at more of like an Anglican kind of like Presbyterian space recently.
okay, so that's interesting. All right, cool. Well then I don't know why I felt like you were gonna. I felt like you were really gonna bite off somebody's head. Like, not. I don't mean that. Like I thought. Like I know. Like I see a lot of passion in your stuff. Um. So talk about. Let's talk about. There's two things that I want to dive in. Well, actually, I guess is there. Yeah. Let me run and then you can run. The and now I just lost it. Okay, so the coaching sphere, I'm sure Ken's has shared with you. Like, I believe I'm somebody that could coach. I would love to
Mhm.
coach. I would love to help, right? So mentor to me, mentor is everything. So I don't know if she shared with you. Like, I'm really hoping to like, and I make sure I ask. That is the thing I wanted to ask you about this big brother, big sister, and you're kind of I've never met somebody that's like actually studied in this where it sounds like where business meets charity. You're like I didn't know that was a field. So sorry, I'm ignorant. So that's like really cool. Um, but um the coaching sphere. So like, and so I'll give you my kind of how story. It's not really my why story, but I had a buddy, a good friend of mine, whose wife's now helping me with all things Ivory Impact and all. And he's like, let's start a coaching business. Like, we're gonna, like, when he gets out of the military, he's just a leader, just a like
Mhm.
truly a leader in every sense of the word, like in the word, like you somebody you want to follow. He went to one coaching convention. He's like, nope, fuck. F that, man. Like, we're not doing that. And I was like, why, dude? Like, and I had always kind of known we need to do it differently because, like, basically, um, yesterday's consultant is today's coach, which is somebody you pay a bunch of money to tell you things that you didn't really like. It's insightful. And I'm generalizing any coach listening. This is not to everybody. This is to the, I think 80, 70, 80, 90% of them that are anti-helpful and expensive.
Mhm.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just like anything. 1 out of 10 is good. 9 out of 10 are going to, whatever. But like, all that to say, like we kind of came at this different. Is like, if you want an executive coach, you can find good executive coaches. Why? Because you're paying 5, 10, 15, 20 to $50,000 a year, and they've got 5 clients, and they're making great money, and like that's where all the great talent goes, right? So now you've got the people at the top of the tree getting the best, and then like those that want to be leaders someday, like hopefully they had a father or mother or an influence mentor. Like hopefully they ran into somebody that accidentally. So all that will shut up, right? So I'm somebody that I think I've done well enough for myself. I'm ready to teach in the areas that I know how to teach. I don't want to be identified as one of these freaking like people. Like
Yeah.
come, and this is what I don't understand is like this idea, and like this idea I'm super successful, so come buy my book and buy my coaching program, and I'm going to get tens of thousands of you to do it, and then I'm going to make millions. And it's like, well, but I already made millions, so let me show you how to make millions by costing you hundreds of thousands. It's like, what the, are you helping? And so like,
Right.
anyway, I've been kind of in the wrestling match of like, how do you do this in a way that's meaningful? And so I guess I won't give you my pitch, but I'm not ready because I don't like really want to be a coach, but I want to help people, and I want to be respectful of my time. And it's really catch 22. So how do you see the global industry? Because there's everybody wants to be a coach. I don't think
Right.
everybody should be a coach myself.
Right. Well, I think that those are the questions that I've been asking too is like, what are your convictions as a creator and a coach that add real value to the marketplace? And like the reality is right now, this industry is more competitive than it's ever been, but it's also a great time to tap into it because the job market sucks. People like have valuable skill sets that they're not sharing, like trade skills. The blue collar worker has trade skills that they may be able to share with people or teach other people how to do that no one else is in that niche creating a course or teaching it. And so I think that there are gaps in that industry of skill sets that aren't being taught. And so I think that that is a valuable place for you to enter in. And I think we're also in a place where honestly, they're calling it like ugly content is in. And I'm like, this is just real life. Like people are just showing up authentically now. And so it's like you're not positioning yourself as like, I'm the number one, in this trade skill or whatever. It's like you're just showing up as Kevin and you're funny and you're you and you're authentic and like you might be on a live and it messes up and your sales tick up because they see that you're a real person. And I think that the industry is looking for more of that because now we're competing with AI and AI influencers and not real life.
I'm frustrated. And when Mackenzie listens to this, I've been saying this for like the last, I don't know, I've been saying it for years, but I've had this stupid bone in my face and I'm taking content. I'm like, just put it up. Don't edit it. Just put it up because I think like attention was the currency of the last decade. I think authenticity is the currency of the next decade. And like those that are just unabashedly themselves are going to be that's the rarity anymore, right? Everybody. So
Totally.
anyway, but so what you're saying is, and so you kind of use the term mega church. So I'll use the mega influencers. Like,
Mhm.
I think everything you just said, I'm in total alignment with. I think anybody that's invested 5 to 10 years in any profession, specialty or otherwise, whether it's, hanging sheetrock or learning how to market, right? Whatever you've done, like it's something that the next generation is particularly true in trades, but like there's a way to go monetize somewhat passively and help people, right? You could do both things. So I totally agree with that. But what do you think of the general And you said you worked with him, and like Tony Robbins, like I have the Hermosis on the list. I'm curious about the
Love
Robbins,
them.
the Cody Sanchez. Yeah. So you think they're all doing the good? They're doing the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Hermosis. I think that one thing that I love about them is, I watched an Alex interview recently, and he was like, if you can make one like rule or law in the world, and his answer was to give away your wealth at the end of your life. And
Yeah.
so to know that that is his why, is that he gets to be generous at the end of it all, that I think that's a really valid why. I think that's a very motivating why. I also love like Cody Sanchez. I love that she is for what they call like the boring business, the laundromat, the small, I think she gives people practical tools on how to be intentional about acquisitions. Um, and I haven't worked with Tony, but I've been to a couple of Tony events and I've learned a lot. And I think that in mega spaces, you get a certain level of knowledge, but when you get into smaller rooms and conversations, you get some real coaching and real value from these people.
Good. You've changed. I know that you're a bit of a contrarian, so you've changed my. I like generally I see. So the trend I see, I don't know where you. What's that guy's name? He's always got a jet. Not Gary V.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
10x your life, is that what you're talking about?
yeah. What's his name? There's
Yeah.
all these people. So like, it's just gross. That's where and hopefully maybe they listen to, I'd love to talk to Hermosi someday because I do think he's a good dude, but I needed them. I was in a pinch. I called them in a pinch and like, they didn't know what to do with me. I was like, oh, this is all bullshit. And then like Cody Sanchez, if you're listening, we should talk. Cause I think the one thing that's tough about that is buy a boring, like if this tagline is buy a boring business, change your life and be wealthy forever. I'm like, no, it should say, hey, this is going to be really hard, but it could be really good. Like
And
it
that's
could be,
getting the right copywriter.
yeah,
That's getting
yeah,
a copywriter that knows that people want authenticity. And I think like even now, just like people that have coach in their like bio, you kind of just want like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's working. Like, someone that's
yeah,
just like not trying to constantly brand themselves as expert.
yeah. Well, I feel like I think it's fleeting, but I might be, yeah, interesting. Okay. So then, um, one more question and then I'll let you turn it over and I think there was it sounded like you were prepared. So if you want to drive combo, I'll let you drive combo. Otherwise we can just talk about the church.
Yeah.
So I've got this like, probably politically incorrect speaking like I've just got a hard on for big brother big sister, right? So like we like took all the Bible studies and I'm like, dude, I'm effing done talking about theology. I don't want to argue about what the Eucharist is. I don't want to talk about like how you interpret John. Actually, my favorite one is John 14:6, right? I am the way, the truth, the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. Like that can mean
Mhm.
so many more things than what we make it mean, in my opinion. Like so much more than we
Yeah.
interpret it. But you can't get it. And I don't mean to say this, but you can't get whatever. I'm doing exactly what I said I don't want to do, right? We don't need to argue theology, but it's like, I think Jesus, whatever. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's just go make the fruit. Let's just go make
Yeah.
the fruit. And what the fruit is just go love God and love people. I don't know what else matters but that. And let's go do that. And like, so we consolidated all the studies. We got a Sunday study. And we're like, hey, we're going to go live it. We're going to do it. We outline all the, you got hunger, you got this, you got that, you got the wealth gap, you got the viceness, all this is like the most, um, the most change that we can emit in the world would be to end child suffering. And the easiest way to go change that would be to just go give a kid hope, right? Is to like falling into the right system and the wrong system is one conversation from somebody that you might trust, right? Like one
Mhm.
conversation with a trusted advisor. And so I've taken to big brother, big sister. I'm like, I just want to go, I don't need to start a new charity. I just need to go pour gas on this charity. Um, so I guess my two questions would be the other thing that I had a hard time with. It took me like 3 weeks to go figure out which charity to find. Like, is there a good resource if you say I'm somebody that wants to give time and money to a charity? And this is like, is there a good resource for that? And I just couldn't find it, or is it a disastrous Google search like everything else is? And whoever has the best paid ads, that's where you find.
I think honestly, it is like self-led, and I think it's asking questions that other people don't ask. And the same way that like I propose, like, does this person actually have expertise in what they're teaching? It's like ask going to the nonprofit, asking them what is their overhead cost? Like how much of my dollar is going towards this kid? How much of my time is going towards this kid? There was a study that I had read years ago on like the amount of time you spend with a child that you're like volunteering with, versus, like truly like adopting the child. And it's like within those like 6 months of consistently showing up for that child and that developmental phase of their life, it's like such an impactful experience of like love and like adult influence in their life that they will remember that, and that will be impactful even if it's not like adoption or the next step. And so I think it's going in like asking the questions of like how long will I be serving for, asking the questions of is this traumatizing the child more than it's helping them? Am I able to commit to the commitment that I'm making?
Interesting. But so you would say, but I think like let's say the layperson, I'm somebody that wants to invest time and or money into a cause that means something to me, but I don't have time to go find it. Do you think it's
Mhm.
is the right resource there to make it easy? Like, like right now I can pick up my phone and I can find somebody to
Right.
drive me anywhere. I could buy nearly anything online, but like if I wanted to go and I'm wondering if you is there a good resource for like if that let's just say there's thousands of people that are like I want to do something that matters and I want maybe some of the research done for me. Does there a resource out there that exists? Because if not, I'd like to just breathe it into existence because it can't be
No,
that hard.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I feel like we need a trust pilot or BBB for the consumer to like be paired up with where they serve. So I
Kenzie
think that
just
that's a gap. Yeah.
Kenzie just got a new to do. Um, so you would it's a gap. So it's a gap we need to go fill. All right, cool. I might drag you into that. You didn't know this, but anybody that comes on here is part of the reckoning for good. Um,
I'm with it.
okay, cool. What was stirring? I don't know what you've read, listened to questions. What do you have anything you wanted to drill at me with? We don't. It's okay if
Well,
you don't. You seem pretty
I would
prepared though.
love, no, I would just love to get further into like, I love the idea of a better questions podcast. I love the idea of asking things more intentionally. And like, I would love to know why we're not doing that. And I think, like, why have we become so comfortable with following the herd? And even in the last couple weeks, a big question that I've had as someone that like strategizes content marketing for people is is the conversation online dividing us more than it's actually bringing us together as a community? Is the online space, we unfollow someone on social media because we don't agree with them, and then we can't face them in real life?
Yeah. Do you have thoughts?
I
Do
mean,
you?
of course, I'm just dishing it back and forth.
Yeah. No. I mean, um, oh man. So this it's cool that you drove it here because this is like the whole thing for me, and I wasn't sure because if you walked around campaigning like I'm gonna end divisiveness, like people are like okay, dude, and I'm like no, I'm gonna find a way, and so this is all condition setting for that for me. Is like I have a plan. Like Kevin Hohe by himself can't end divisiveness, but a couple hundred thousand people that say, hey, I'm not gonna hate people I don't know,
Hmm.
you can change culture, right? And I think so yeah, this all is surrounding that. What's interesting is, and I'll give you my answer, is the first thing you said that sincere and compassionate curiosity solves all things. It literally
Hmm.
solves all things. It's like the one thing, and like curiosity is tied in with imagination. And when we were little kids, we're told you can be anything you want to be, and then we're told to go color in the lines, right? And then as soon as you stop coloring in the lines, you're wrong from a very early age. So what I've just done is I've charted the problem. And so those of us that break from the norm, color outside the lines, are either wildly successful revolutionaries or probably going to be serial killers because we're just unaccepted and don't fit in, right?
Right.
If you and so we cripple our early ability to be curious at a young age, and then it exists into perpetuity. And so I think and I hope I'm not ranting too much. You can cut me off if you want to go down any of these rabbit trails. But I think the most interesting like metaphor that I have is well, let me just say it. If like when you lose curiosity, right, then you've become rigid. So and then and like it's funny, biblically speaking, right? It wasn't the tree of sin. It wasn't the apple of greed. It wasn't the apple of it was the tree of knowledge. You weren't supposed to
Mhm.
eat the tree of knowledge. And why is that? Is because as soon as you like say, I know this to be true, anything else that might be revealed to you is now a threat. And then you
Mm.
don't even know it, but you respond to that threat with anger, right? Is like if Morgan's truth about X, Y, and Z disagrees with my truth, then I'm wrong and I'm going to hell. I don't like Morgan, right? And so I think I'll answer the question. I'll move to solve. Like, yeah, we've just been hardwired not to think critically, not to be curious, not to be inclusive and expansive in our ability to reason and contemplate deeply. We've just been conditioned that like if it's not wrong, if it's not right, it's wrong, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. And so if you're a liberal, I hate you, and if you're a conservative, fuck you too, right? You're all like
Mhm.
whatever. So yeah, I guess I have many parables about that, but so did I answer the question? I don't know if I
Yeah,
did.
I think it's like I mean it's just general curiosity and having that conversation, and I think there's just such a strange stigma online now that like if I want to curate my algorithm and my feed to consume things that make me more knowledgeable, there's this amazing book. It's called Digital Minimalism. It's by Cal Newport, and it's basically about that. It's like so that you're not wasting 10 hours of your day scrolling, but what you are consuming is knowledge and information, and you have the power to curate your feed in that way. But we also, as a society, have such a stigma that it's like, oh, you follow this person or you follow this person, or I'm afraid to show that I follow both sides of the spectrum because I want to be informed about both things. And I think we need to be able to sit in our living room with two books that contradict each other. I mean, almost like apologetics. You know, you can have your apologetics and your Bible or whatever. And we used to 20 years ago be able to sit down and read both of those things without people publicly critiquing that we're consuming both things.
I totally agree. I mean, I just think ideological capture. It's super pervasive, and everybody thinks they're above it. If you notice, like it's like doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. Like like old or like we say things and then we can't see the mirror that we're reflecting. And I don't want to talk like I'm above it, but I'm sure that digital newism is pretty good into this stuff. Is like how you kind of break free of the matrix. But the interesting thing is, it's kind of like when you talk about the echo chamber, you didn't, but like when you're talking about like how we comment and how we operate, like it's us.
Mhm.
That is us. That's a manifestation of us, and it's like where did it get so? How did it get so bad? Um, and that I don't really have an answer for, but I think social media exasperated something that was already kind of conditioned in us. And that's why, and I don't know that we'll get here now. Like that's where I'm really hard. I'm really hard on our faith tradition, right? I'm like, I think you got to pick on the home team. Is like, if you run around, and it'd be interesting. You said yes, but very defiantly about being Christian still, and I didn't know if you had broken from that. And like, I don't know if the Christians will let me be in the club anymore because I'm like, I believe so much in what Jesus spoke that I think like he and God are bigger than a faith tradition. Like I just
Mhm.
believe that has to be true. And I'm not saying that Jesus didn't walk this earth. I'm not saying that he didn't resurrect. I'm saying that I know a lot of good people that don't believe that, and I believe that they can come to know God and find heaven after life. And I hope that that's okay. But our faith tradition has no tolerance for that. That would be heresy. That would be false prophet. That would be bad. You shouldn't say that. And it's like, what did I say that was bad? I said like I love this person enough to not damn them to hell. I don't know. I think God. So anyway, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know where you would fall out on that, but like,
No, I have felt that same stigma or even like reservation to return to the church as a building until I'm sure of where I stand after like deconstructing or unlearning and rebuilding. And so I did a lot of my like exploration of almost like deconstructing the megachurch privately and then going on a journey of finding like a new church home after that. But I think my belief is that God is gray And I think there's way more gray area than black and white. And I think the church really functions in a very black and white way where like we were never meant to know all the answers. And there's like a lot of different ways to interpret the Bible. There's a lot of different iterations of the Bible. There's, very different denominations, and perceptions and boundaries within that. And so for me, I know that I am a Christian. I know that I am a believer, but I also know that I have a lot of grace for people that are navigating the gray area.
Yeah, it's really well said. And the interesting thing is because like so this is what's this is I've been banging Bible for a good solid like 15 years, bringing people to Bible study, telling them to read the Bible, kind of preaching the orthodox, bringing them to the dogma. I've always had the same questions, and I finally like the questions became more than I could wrestle with. It's like, wait a minute. Um, but what's been fascinating, so people are going to think that I came and found you because you're so anyway, I'm on this journey of like, I call it kind of the enlightened Christ consciousness path. Like it's not what you find in typical Christianity. I think it's, of course, I think I'm right? I think it's like what Christ intended was a spiritual awakening, an alignment with God, an expansive love, compassion, and like living as he lived. I think that's what John 14:6 says, not like believe rightly. But
Mhm.
you wouldn't believe the doors that get slammed in my face. So people are going to think that I went and tried to find you like me, and that's not the case. But
That's
it's
not at
interesting you're
all.
here.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm speaking on behalf of a very voiceless area, and particularly those that aren't like you, where they're steadfast and rock solid in their faith. They're the ones that look at religion and they're like, you can F off with you and your God thing. I'm not doing that because that's a bunch of blasphemous like heresy. It doesn't even make sense. Like, who are you to think that you know what I'm saying? Like those people, like those are who I'm trying to go find. It's like, forget that. Forget whatever you see in that building is not what he maybe came to show. Like pick up the Bible and come to know him. But I'm just wondering what prompted you didn't go into it. Like what is your, post-Protestant referendum? Like what triggered, what was the condition set for you to say, I don't know about all this?
Yeah, I think, my experience as a missionary was like twofold, right? So you have the humanitarian relief side, which is like the nonprofit is ran in a way where there's like government funding and it's very clear that the feeding and education is happening and there's like water wells going in to the communities. And then you have like a gospel outreach, old school tent revival, Billy Graham style discipleship revival going on. Okay. And so to me, the humanitarian aid side was very pragmatic. And I could see how the return was happening there. But then with the revival side, I had a lot of questions about we're saying God's going to do this and God's going to do that. And, God's going to show up in this way for these very impoverished rural communities. And what if that one oil donor pulls out next year? Are we creating false promises now? Or are these like false prophecies were that I'm a part of? And so that's kind of where I came to a halt when I wanted to leave Africa and come home and like kind of get deeper into these questions is one of the things about Africa for me, like, is that people in Africa like worshiped because of who God is, not because of what God would give them. Like they were already living the life that they'd already known. And so it wasn't like they were showing up to these revivals because the nonprofit was going to have these provisions for them. It was because they were like worshipers at heart. And so I think for me, just taking a step back and being like, what are we promising as prophetic voices in this community that I just need a more pragmatic answer that we're going to be able to follow through on these things.
Hmm. So you didn't have any fundamental theological issues. It was more about, um, the fruits that were being committed that we weren't like maybe delivering on. Am I saying that the right way? Or
I think it's just like asking the questions of like kind of like the Billy Graham revival style evangelical approach to things. I think I did walk through almost like a am I ex evangelical now kind of journey. And I would say like you said, you kind of were Bible thumping. I was very like much the kid that ran around college with her friends, like praying for people. And that's really not how I do it now.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like a private pursuit and how I show up in business, how I show up as a person, a friend, a daughter, whatever. But I think my kind of second deconstructing experience was with the megachurch. And I'm sure you've seen that like a bunch of men in their 30s now are turning to Greek Orthodoxy and Catholicism. And it's because of a need for structure. And for me, there were just too many like boundless question marks in the megachurch. Like, what do we believe? Like, you'd ask questions like, well, what is your stance on this? And they'd be like, God is good. And you'd be like, great, but like what does this church believe about this?
Mm.
And I feel
So,
like in the megachurch it's too loose.
and so do you think you're moving towards more structure in your because I'm actually moved, yeah. You think you're going to go back to maybe the more Catholic practice might be
Um
appealing to you?
I haven't moved toward Catholicism or Greek Orthodoxy. I have like explored like the Anglican Church and the Presbyterian Church. And part of it, I think, honestly, is because I came from the Irish Protestant upbringing. And it's like almost like a returning to your knowing, or
Yeah.
your roots.
Are you hmm, it's fascinating. I did not know that stat. I mean, I've heard, one of the things I get, like, let's say, not annoyed, but I've not yet been able to get any of these people online to come and chat about it. But when you got the Protestants bragging when we convert, like, it's like literally every religion is walking around bragging when they drag somebody else over. And it's like, you got the Catholics dogging the Protestants dogging the Catholics. And then, um, I don't know, there just seems to be, so much of that, and I just don't, I don't know. I don't know. So I guess, do you yeah,
I
what do you
don't
make?
believe, yeah, I don't believe one denomination is right. I don't believe that one church building is right. I honestly experienced God more when I was out in the world helping people than when I was in a building with a bunch of people on a Sunday. And I think, for me, I've even like had more conversations about like with friends that are kind of in this like Buddhist Christianity crossover that's kind of happening for them. And I haven't had as much exposure or knowledge with that kind of movement, but I know that there's a lot of people kind of moving into that realm as well.
So what would be I do wanna ask you about your car stuff, but, what would be the most interesting conversation to take from here? Where do you wanna drive at? 'Cause we could talk theology, we could talk where do you wanna go?
I know. I think, what's so interesting about all of this is that I believe like the same convictions that I have with like false teachings in the e-course world come from a place of
Mm,
my same convictions of like false prophecy. And I think that that has like helped me reconcile a mission based approach to the work that I do and a better vetting system for who I align myself with as a marketer. And I think that that came from my, questioning of the church and the missions world. And so I think that like the unanimous thing right here is like, we do need to be asking better questions. And what are those questions? Because I think those same questions are relevant in both spaces.
mm. That's fascinating. So let's talk, like, what do you think the greatest the obviously coaching is like saying you can help and you can't, but like on the spirituality side, like when you give me a false prophecy, that's one that's like, I wish people would never say that again. Or is there any? Do you draw those stances?
I think one of my learnings from like being in prophetic evangelical spaces is if one person is coming up to you to give you a prophetic word to be wary of it, because there's no accountability in that moment. And that when someone prophesies over you and it's an individual and there's no accountability there, you need a moment to like really be discerning and pray about like if this is rooted really truly in what like God wants me to hear, that it will be planted in me, and if it's not, that it will be washed away and I will forget this moment immediately. Because I think prophetic words can be dangerous, and I think a lot of people want the gifting of prophecy, but they don't want the accountability of the other side of that prophetic word. I believe it should probably land as like a word of encouragement. And, if someone's getting really specific about personal, desires and that, then I think you need to question it. I think a lot of women in the church get the guy at youth group that comes up and says, God told me that you're my wife, or, like whatever. I think that one needs to end for sure.
There you go. So let's talk about, so you're in this season, but like, so what is the, so let's talk about like some of my, like a lot of people would call me a false prophet for sure. I don't know. Have you listened to any of my stuff yet? It's okay if you
Yeah.
have not. Oh yeah, have you? Okay, cool. But like, so like a lot of Christians are slamming that door right in my face. So if I said to you, we can't know what heaven is, would you say I agree or disagree?
No, I agree. And I think that you and I are probably more aligned that like the false prophets are the ones that are so black and white about it, because we don't have like the Bible isn't that specific for us to be so sure. And so I feel like that would be more of an accurate prophecy. I mean, I have, some dear friends that are questioning, is hell a real place?
A very good question. I
You
don't
know?
know. Well, could
And
it, and so for you, it could be, if we talked about both, there's a chance that part of it, or if not all of it, is a state of being, would be that's a tolerable interpretation for you.
I believe that's tolerable. I think my kind of pain point with prophecy is when you promise specific deliverables to vulnerable people that you can't be sure are going to be fulfilled. Obviously, you want to instill hope in people, but let's be realistic.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting, like that's a really, that you know, I don't want to sound like an arrogant prick, but I'm like, I haven't been stumped in a while on the theological front, because it, as the power that comes from um the power that comes from saying I don't know, that makes everybody effing uncomfortable, right? They lose their mind. It's like, hey, I'm gonna smile at you and tell you this again. I don't know, and I don't think we have, you know what I mean? Like the less you have to know, the better. And so that's what we're talking about with curiosity. But it's like, that's a stumper, because like I've been exploring, and I wish I had my Bible handy. I think it's in my other room, but he says that we can do greater things than even he did. I mean, he says that. Jesus says that you can do. And like, he also says, like, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. So I'm like, if you pray, eagerly, like, and believe that, like, I don't know, have you seen food multiply yet? I haven't. I've heard stories of people that have you seen that happen? Have you seen a
I
miracle like
mean,
that?
that's a question mark. Like I've seen donors be impacted by their original donations, and then they decide to give more, and the community is more sustainable now. But I haven't seen a literal, fish turn
Yeah.
into more fish.
I just wonder, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, don't, like you were saying, don't make a commitment that you can't that you can't fall through. And it's like, with God, anything should be possible. But I understand with yours, like discernment is like, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one for me, because I think, I mean, like, look, Peter, I don't know if you like, I don't. Peter rose people from the dead post Jesus. Jesus rose people from the dead pre Jesus. Like the only resurrection was not, Jesus was not the only one to defeat the death.
Yeah.
Which is really upsets people when you say that way. But that as the bedrock of the faith to me, and this is one you can call me a false prophet. Like, I don't quite understand. Like, if the Christian, if somebody said, what is a Christian? And the general answer was like, just love people relentlessly, just love them, just embrace them and love them and cherish them. And like, hold them and see them and be a beacon of good in there, like that's I'd be like, hell yeah, that's right. But our church is like, what's a Christian? It's like, I believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Oh, what about the love part? And it's like, well, no. I mean that, yeah, but and you got to do that too. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not. Listen, I believe that he came and died and rose again for sure. I just don't understand it as the bedrock. I don't like it's significant. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, I guess, and I don't know. I just don't buy into that everything he said was a lie if he didn't do that. It wasn't like he ran around saying that dozens and hundreds of times, was it? He didn't run around every chapter saying, man, and I'm gonna make this true. I'm gonna die and defeat the he like very, very like two times maybe there's mention of that. And then there's an endless amount of stuff that's saying, go love the world. So am I a heretic? You can tell me, please tell me.
No, I this week, just even in the wake of like all the news and the media cycle and everything that's going on in the world right now, like I believe that your conviction to love people needs to be greater than your conviction to be right.
Mm, quote that, editor. Quote that. That's Um, and so this is the question, and Morgan, I don't know if you're an evangelist. I tend to be one. So like I'm under siege. I don't want to say I'm under siege, right? I feel like the Pharisees are after me because I'm like, hey, like it's cool if you want to believe that, but like, why don't you like, but then like your conviction to love should be greater than be right, right?
Mhm.
Is that not commonplace? I know that's basically the very question you answered me, and then I'll see that question and I'll raise it one more. Why, when somebody chooses to live that way in the name of Christ, do Christians tweak the fuck out? Like, how do they lose their mind? They're losing their mind. Like, people are calling me
So
super
real.
concerned because I'm saying those things, and I'm like, what are you concerned about? I'm not saying we can't be right, but we can love like Christ loved. And you're upset. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tell me, help me understand, because I can't get. It's
I mean,
I'm
part
com-
of it is like, did they miss the part where like Jesus, you know, ate with like today it would be like you might see Jesus at like a strip club, like you might see Jesus like sitting on Broadway in Nashville with the heroin addict. Like, did we miss that part? Like sometimes I try to like modernize that situation, to like if I saw this quote earlier that was like, who from the Bible would be an influencer, And it's just kind of funny to think of it that way, where it's like, where would Jesus be right now in the world that we live on? He probably would not be like in the comments section.
I don't know. You know what? I used to think that too, and I'm like, where's the sickest among us? They're
Yeah,
in the comments. They're actually that's where they are. Like, go and be among them. I mean, I don't
real.
mean to say it that way because I mean, because I've been like, really, I don't want to go into this. I'm going into the matrix of social media. I'm sure Mackenzie's told you, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, but I don't think I don't think you can have a voice if you don't. I mean, we literally, yeah, we always talked about it, but if you have a following, you can talk to other people with a following. Otherwise, you're a nobody. What the hell is that?
Yeah,
What the
that
hell is that?
hierarchy is so weird. And honestly, it's transpired, I believe, in cities where like people prioritize the relationships in their life based on that clout. And it's so strange to me that I want to be seen with this person, but I can't show up privately for the people in my life going through a real crisis.
It's such a shame. So then wait, I'm trying to push to see if there's anywhere where you're gonna be like, nope, you've left the reservation. So I had this, and part of this for me, and this has been an evolution. I've always asked questions, and the biggest question that I could never answer, Morgan, is like the inclusivity and expansiveness of an infinite God that says, come one, come all, reconciled to a religion that says if you don't believe like I believe, you're going to hell. Those are incongruent. Those are just, for me, I couldn't do it. I like never made sense, but it's kind of like, what about before him? And then when you really unpack that, right, then maybe this would be somewhere where somebody could say you just have to have faith. But it's like, well, so what happened before Jesus? Those people were just, they couldn't know God either, and you could only know God after. It's like, and then when you chart all the similarities from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and like, we look just like the freaking Israelites that won't go take themselves into the land flowing with milk and honey. Like, We look just like them. We look just like the Israelites. I think it's the Israelites. If I'm butchering it, I'm butchering it. That entrap themselves to slavery. Like they could have had anything they wanted, and they put themselves like see all the similarities. I'm like, I couldn't make sense of that. But like the big one that stuck out to me was like I was in a group I served, and I served with the Mormons, and they were great, well disciplined, loving, very like just good Christian folks with the same set of morals that we generally believe in. I went to church with them. They fed me when I was at OCS, which was like not a great time for me. It's like these people are just beautiful Christians, right? They believe in the resurrection, right? And I'm like
Mhm.
sitting in a Bible study, and I'm just like, my these we're lighting up the Mormons that day, and I'm like, you guys know they're Christians, right? What do you mean they don't believe in Jesus? And I'm like, it's the like Church of Jesus Christ and Latter Day Saints. Like, what do you? Yeah, they believe in the same death and resurrection that you do. No, it's different, and it's like, oh no, they're different. It's different. It's like, what do you mean? I don't know. It's different. It's just, it's not, they're not doing it the right way. And then you like go to the prosperity gospels and you're like, it's not the right way either. And it's like, and I just started. So I guess you accept the Mormon faith tradition in our camp.
Yeah, I mean, I have really, really dear Mennonite friends too. Like, I try to spend a weekend every year with my Mennonite and Amish community. And I think what we're getting at is everyone wants their version of salvation to be the right one because it creates a sense of security, you know? And I don't know why it's necessary to cause division in that. But I think people want to be so sure that their salvation is like 100% it, that they justify other groups being wrong.
And then, so you've talked about your Buddhist Christians, and I just got somebody attacked me. He's like, are you a Buddhist now? I was like, I don't know. What is a Buddhist? Maybe. I don't know. But I think Buddhists are tolerant of all religions. That sounds good to me. I also think Jesus might have gone and spent time with the Buddhist monks, but okay. We don't need to, we'll just leave that there. I don't know. I don't identify as Buddhist. I want to identify as Christians. I don't think Christians will let me, so I don't know what the hell I am. I used the term mystic, and that's since offended people too. Just so you know, I found that out. That's offensive. And
Oh
if
yeah, people think you're like witchcrafty.
are you wearing a tin cap? That's what the like. What did I say, man? I don't know. Whatever. But God bless those people. So then, will you extrapolate? How do you justify or it not? So I've spent some time, and I don't know if you listen. I've spent some time with a Muslim brother, and I hope to spend some time with an imam. Like I really want to understand like that one seems really easy for a lot of people to eradicate as an illegitimate faith tradition. I don't have an opinion. I suspect from what I've heard, they seem to be preaching the same love that we seem to be seeking. They seem to really be deliberately pursuing a relationship with God. They're more prayerful. They're more diligent. They seem to do family as good or better. And then obviously, as the Catholic Church has a little bit of a problem, and we won't bring in that. Like there seems to be wild militias. But I don't know. Is there? And the interesting thing about this, and you probably know more about it than I do, but they are waiting for Jesus to come back and convert everybody to Islam. And we're waiting for Jesus to come back and convert everybody to Christ. Like the similarities are not like it's not
Mhm.
far reaching. So I
Yeah.
guess what would you say about that? Is like those people? Is it? Are we okay to say those people are wrong, or what?
I
How do
would
you?
honestly, I would assess it as like, are the, when you analyze it, are the fruits of the spirit coming to fruition in the person's life that follows those teachings? And if you can look at your friend that is a part of that community and say they have the fruits of the spirit from what they're following, and I have the fruits of the spirit from what I'm following, I think that those are equal pursuits.
You heretic. Um, what else you want to dive into before I cut you loose?
I know. I'm like, this went so many different ways than I thought it would, but if this is,
Sorry.
these questions are more important to me than any about marketing.
Oh, we could talk marketing too. I'd love to. So,
Well, I mean, that's even a question with, marketplace ministry and evangelism. Like, is there a difference?
define it. I don't know the you're talking like that's something I shouldn't. Marketplace ministry versus evangelism. Tell me the difference.
Like, say, you have like a secular business, but the way that you operate in your business as a believer
Mm,
portrays the fruits of the spirit, right? But you're not. We're like God's construction squad, whatever, like it
yeah,
doesn't have to be branded that way. But like, is marketplace ministry different than evangelism based on how you move in your business?
that's a good one. Um, so I believe marketplace ministry is more powerful than evangelism. Why? Because it sparks curiosity, right? When it's kind of like you have an agenda when you're out there saying, "Hey, I'm a Christian and I go to church every Sunday and I do my tithe and this whole business is God's business." And like, one, you're gonna scare a lot of the wrong people away because they're like, dude, it's like, instead of like, that guy is just so charitable, he's so generous. I want. He doesn't swear. I need to work on that. Like, he's like carries himself differently. I want to be more like him. And then when you go to get to know him, it's like, oh, at the epicenter of him and his being, the source of the fruit of his life that you're attracted to and drawn to is a deep and enriched relationship with Jesus Christ. So I think it's actually more powerful, that it's subdued, that people just get to receive Jesus' love through you without you saying in the name of. I'm sure that'll get me kicked out of a lot of church groups, but I don't know what you think about that.
No, I absolutely, from going to the mission field into like just being a marketer, um, I've actually felt that I've made more connections with people outside of that space that have become more open to conversations about it because I'm in a what would be considered secular marketplace as a believer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are in. Yeah. Uh, I think when you think about it, right? Like going back to the echo chambers, like if I, and I don't mean, I always use the gays because I think the Christians ostracize the gays. It's like, and I don't mean to say them that way if that's derogatory. Please, nobody be offended. But it's like, if I'm a gay person and I'm like going to work for a company and I'm working, it's like, if they advertise themselves as Christians, I'm like, they're probably going to persecute me, like, and that's terrible. I think that's terrible. I think that's completely the wrong. And it's like, but it's like you use that example to say like, if Christians are going to come work for Christians. So what are you advancing? Like it's like you're
Right.
like calls to like, and it's like if you want to go to the place, yeah. Anyway, that's what I think. Like it's just better to go live and love without any nomenclature. It's like yours
Well,
is
yeah, that
yours.
even denominations have split over that. You've got the Methodist Church, there's the Presbyterian side A and side B of it. And it's just like we're breaking further and further away from each other as a community over really specific opinions about things.
Yeah, it's yeah. I just think the church should speak to love first and foremost for all who come and seek. But yeah, let's talk about you bring up a good pivot. So let's talk about this marketing. Um, are you enjoying what you're doing? It sounds like you found purpose, and then maybe I'll give you a case study for what we're doing, and you can give us some advice because there's a few things similar to your evangelism versus marketplace ministry. So tell us, yeah, how many people you working for? Are you looking for more clients? Who's the ideal client? What? Yeah, take us do a little pitch here.
Yeah, I think for me, like it has become very valid and important to me in the last few years that um, do your research. Like the clients that you have, it's just as important for you to vet them as it is for them while they vet you in the hiring process. What are their credentials? Is it something that aligns with your convictions? Can you write in a voice that honors your convictions working with them? And that's a journey that I had to go on is, I wanted to have diverse opportunities as a marketer working for people that may not align with my personal convictions, but that I could be such a good marketer and copywriter that I could capture their voices. But then, after a while, you ask the question of, am I supporting something that isn't in alignment with my purpose? And so for me, I don't want to get into alignment with a client without knowing, are their convictions deep enough? Like you say, these number one marketing coach, yada yada, that's how they brand
Mm.
themselves. Well, are they willing to like say, I'm willing to lose money on a launch because I want to give my client the best experience and I want to honor and follow through what I've said that I will follow through on as a coach, which might mean like one-on-one coaching or smaller groups of master classes with people. And I think for me, it's discerning how these clients operate in like a 30 to 90 day period to see if I want to continue that relationship after that.
Makes sense. How many are you working with at a time?
So right now I just have one client that takes up a vast majority of my time.
Oh, good. And so anything marketing, you're taking any you're putting together copywriting and content for marketing coaches. Anybody that wants to be a marketing coaches, you help them.
Yeah, anyone really with an e-course. So it doesn't have to specifically be coaching or marketing coaching. That's an area that I'm strong in just because I am a marketer. But I love the e-course world and I love strategizing the like cool to warm to hot traffic conversions and like managing those communities and who those consumer like buyer demographics and identities are. You know, like they might be able to buy your one number one tier product that might be like a $75 product. But then this buyer demographic, they can do like a $5,000 mastermind where they do one-on-one coaching with Kevin, like 4 times a year or something, you know, in person. And so just like structuring that whole process of building out the how do you convert them from cool to warm to hot traffic, and maybe they're not going through that sales funnel but they are just the C client or the A client or whatever, you know.
That's awesome. And so are you looking for more clients, or this is you go one at a time and you're good? Is that something you
No,
want
I'm
more?
open to more. I just like for me is I really want someone that is trying to strategically build. And like for me, I'm not a social media manager that's like a just out of college, like I'm gonna do 8 posts for you and you're gonna pay me $2,500 a month. You know, it's like I'm gonna pivot weekly based on analytics to meet our sales goals week to week, month to month, year to year.
That's awesome. And how is business? Business is good.
Good. Yeah. I am just going through a fun launch right now where traditionally this client did like evergreen sales and we're now doing like sales periods. So like I have in the e-course world seen both strategies work successfully. But sometimes enrollment periods are a great pivot and it, creates kind of like a time commitment to the consumer that feels more of like a student enrollment period than just like it holds them accountable to finish what they're doing.
Nice. Um, we don't have a whole big audience just yet, but I think that's going to change soon. And I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot we could do. Um, we could probably do it once and then on repeat for these guys that want to take videos of them mastering their trade. That's actually a big thing for me. So I
Mhm.
think when we get that community going, I think that'd be cool. But let's just say somebody's like, yeah, I've always wanted to do an e-course and I'm interested in this Morgan gal. Like what you might have said it, and I'm a bad listener, but you do an onboarding call. What does the engagement normally sound like? Is that something you're willing to talk about, or is it case to case?
It's case to case, but I will say that like what I think the first step everyone should do is create a lead magnet. So you need to start creating like free, valuable content to people, like digital download, PDF, video, something that warms up your audience. And, I will say, I think it's a myth that I have managed accounts that have 5 million followers and they do 5 million in a year. And I've managed accounts that have 400,000 followers and they do 10 to 20 million in a year. So it's more about strategy than following and having like committed, dedicated people.
Now you're getting to the good stuff. Okay, so now that we only have 20 minutes left, I finally figured out where to drive the combo.
So,
So this is something I've just always been. Well, I love what you said. One, you don't need 5 million to get 10 million results, right? You could do it with a quarter or
yeah.
10% even. But this idea, so like it's not, so I basically I think you've probably, well, I had three coaches and they were like, just start posting bullshit. And I'm like, no, 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 the
Yeah.
brand is authentic. So I'm not putting it up unless it means something to me. And like, so it's been a total go rope, but like um, so it's not hard to, we got bots and you got giveaways and it's like, what is and the consistent thing that anybody that I was soliciting about this whole thing. Cause I knew I had to come into this space, but I also knew that I didn't want this to be, uh, I don't want a full-time job. I don't want to learn it. I don't want to manage. There's, six platforms. I want to respond to comments, particularly ones where people are upset with me. And like, I want to just emit my voice because I guess you got to do that in today's day and age. But, the, what the heck was I saying? Oh, the unequivocal, like, consensus from them was like, don't hope to go viral. That's a bad strategy. And it's like, well, shouldn't you like if you're trying to get a following, shouldn't you have a good enough idea that's viral enough to the people that it speaks enough to? So like help me marry those two and then I have another question.
Yeah, I think okay, so virality, obviously, as a creative, I want every idea to go viral, right? But that shouldn't be the KPI. That's not sustainable. If you depend on viral conversions, you can't really gauge the sustainability of your business or your revenue, right? So, what is most important is understanding how the algorithm works and the game that you're playing against it. So, I'm just going to give you an example. This client that I started working with about 90 days ago, they were doing like 4 to 6 posts a week, getting like 250,000 views with an engagement rate of like 0.25 to zero point 0.5 week over week. Now, the algorithm rewards you for how consistent you are with your content output. So I upped their content distribution to about 14 to 16 posts a week. They're getting 1 million views a week. And the engagement rate is now at 1 to 1.5. The goal would be to be at like a 2% because views aren't, your views are for getting in front of people, right? But engagement is like really getting prospects warmed up to you. And then the other thing that I think a lot of people don't know or understand is like the carousel posts that people kind of like slide through are typically for your warm traffic, people that are willing to sit there and read through the slides, because a lot of people are doing text overlay of the images, but reels are for new prospects. So if your like business is stagnant and you're not getting new prospects, your reels output needs to like double.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all fascinating to me. Does Mackenzie know all these things or do we need to be hiring you?
She knows these things. We've worked
Okay.
very closely on content and marketing together. But another thing just with like the algorithm is that you need to know that you can follow through on that amount of content, right? So like if you train the algorithm that you're doing 14 posts a week, you need to be doing it consistently, because if you then pull back and then have like a dead month, then it's not, really going to be
Okay.
competitive.
So and you're talking mostly Instagram here or is this all of it?
Instagram
Yeah.
primarily.
So
That's
so
typically the highest revenue generator for clients I work with.
why why does the algorithm set by Facebook, who owns Instagram, like why isn't it just uh shouldn't it be set by me, the consumer? Like this is what I want to see, and then they go figure out how to get like because it has all total control of like what I see. Like I really don't have any agency. Like obviously I do with my eyes. Like it's like, but like when I always use this example, I'm gonna get canceled for this, but like I'm very fascinated with the I should do a different one, but I'm just that the porn and OnlyFans industry is like I just don't I'm interested in it not because I think it's gross, right? But
Mhm.
I need to back off and be more tolerant and say like what's going on here, and particularly because my wife is in the space and like there's people that just they follow her and comment on everything she does, and I'm like I actually take pity. Like I'm not jealous. I'm like these guys like is there I don't whatever, right? So OnlyFans exists because there's a need, right? And so do these women fulfilled, and are these men are finding satisfaction? Is this good? I don't think this is good for a masculinity problem, but anyway. But my pausing is like I'm kind of like trying to figure out who's who and all of that. but then it gets me more of this. I don't really want more of this. You know what I mean? So like, I guess I feel like a very much everybody's a passenger of an algorithm that they have some agency in, but like you got to like you don't actually have any control of. I mean, you have some control, but it's not easy. It's not easy. If I like click on one political thing because I was interested in, my friend that might have had an affiliation, and now Jesus Christ, the whole feed is political nonsense, and I've been MAGA dumped all the way through, or same, like, and I guess I'd say it this way. Generally, I think social media is a result of what we wanted. The market moved, and it's unfortunate that it went this way. But I also think it was corrupted by bad incentives. Do you agree? Is there a way to like? There just doesn't seem to be as much agency for me, the creator, or me, the observer.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. I think that like the creator can only pivot as much as they need to for their business. And like the trial reels feature is a great way to test like how consumers engage with your stuff before it goes out to new prospects. That's a tool that can be used. But then as a consumer of content, like that book I referenced earlier, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, it helps me protect my mindset and my priorities with how I spend my time online as a consumer. But I agree with you. It's a little bit of a marriage of both, right? It's like Meta gets to decide certain things that are prioritized, but then the consumer is also engaging, which is prioritizing it. But I think that's a great question that we've all asked, especially with like the threat of maybe TikTok not existing and then people pivoting over to YouTube Shorts instead of TikTok, or Reels just being a different platform from TikTok. I think what was so fascinating about TikTok is it's like really truly generated by you. Like the content that you're getting on TikTok is because of what you've engaged with.
Well, but we've only got 12 minutes left. I didn't even ask you about cars. I want a big. I'm gonna start building trucks here. Well, I've always been building trucks, but like I want to start building trucks for other people shortly. But is there anything that you were hoping we'd get to that I didn't ask about that you said it wasn't what you were expecting? So I feel like I let you down.
No, not at all. I think that like, this is exactly how you'd want a conversation to go because it's like faith first and then, like asking those questions and then get into the business. And I'd rather know who someone is before I know what they do.
There you go. Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed your time. Is there anything left? Is there anything that you were hoping that we'd get to that I didn't drive us at?
No, I think the most important takeaway for that I would want people to hear is just that your conviction to love people, would be greater than your conviction to be right.
I think that was so well said. Whatever interest you have in joining us for the reckoning, I don't know, like I think it'd be really cool if we start to build out this tradesman community.
Yeah.
To go get those specialty guys, like particularly those that are, like we can go run a campaign right now to be like, and I would, my the clothing company or the community could sponsor. I'm asking you to also sponsor it, but a free working session with you is like you and I just need one case of like, hey, you want to be and I'm sure there's some out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you go look, I don't like if how to be a carpenter, and the best way to be a carpenter is go be on the job site with a carpenter for
Right.
a while virtually if you have to, and so I would love to. I would love to do that. I'm a little capital deprived right now. I've invested way too much in this crap, and I haven't wanted as and done some stupid stuff. But if you wanted to pursue that as a campaign together, if you want more business, it would be. I believe I'd have a bunch of low tech, blue collar people that would love to, if they
That's
just pick
cool.
their phone up. So
Yeah.
if and when you would want to pursue that, the invitation is there. It'd be very cool
That's
to do.
awesome. Yeah, no, I think that'd be really great. I especially so two of the main e-courses I worked with were in automotive. So I'm really interested to hear about the trucks.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the teaser. And so for me, and this is where I get, and I meant to talk about this, is like, it's so hard because it'd be very easy. I wrote the book already. All I have to do is get it edited, put some branding behind it, and I can go sell the book. I just have a problem selling a book that may or may not be transformational. I want to take the time. Like if somebody's going to read my book, I want them to be willing to spend $500. And if they don't get $500 in value, I'll give them their money back. And they should come on the podcast and talk to me. It's like, everybody's an author anymore, like ghostwriting and everything else. But,
Right.
so we've had a hard time. Why did I say all of that? Oh, so I've got I want to start with Big Brother, Big Sister. We didn't really talk about that. I want to like if we can get mentorship, like that's mission one, and then we've got a few tech startups that we're getting to, and this freaking podcast, social media shit is kind of like the necessary evil to go and be a voice. So we do that. But the one I'm excited about is like I think there's a huge market for like I'm a diesel truck nut, like 3/4, like I love like chrome deletes, color matching, tuning, which we can do again because America might be free again. That and I'm not sure if you know about cap swaps. Like I want to take like the 78, 79 Dent sides and put like new motors, new interiors, new electronics. So you're driving an old classic with some like really fresh retro interior. So
Nice.
I would, as Shelby is the Mustang, I hope to put Ivory up in the name for diesel trucks because I think that it's kind of wide open. So
Yeah.
that's where we hope to get someday.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting.
Do you know I need an interior person in my arsenal. You know any stitchers?
Oh, you know what? My dad probably does up in Detroit. I can ask him about it. He's still very much in the, auto space up there. So,
Well, you have to ask him. Yeah, I want to kit out the back seat. So the back, actually, I want to kit out the whole thing. All right, let me get on let me pitch to you real quick. Like you take a $50,000 truck and you say Denali, they put a chrome grill on it, some like moderately nicer interior. I mean, it's nice. Like they're nice. And you pay another 50 grand. It's like, dude, if you're paying 100 grand for a truck, it should be bespoke to you. That the massager in that seat, the seat should be comfortable, first of all, should be bespoke to you. And then like, I want to put like the back should be kitted the way you want it. So you can stow your stuff and then the under seat. Cause all of us that drive a crew cab, like we don't use the back seat, it's storage. So I want to put like, some integrated safes, like some gun storage if you want to hang your bow up. So like, I'd really like to kit out, like really get a kitted ultimate interior package and start ordering trucks for people and make them do. We're not ready for that actually, but
yeah.
I'd love to start setting conditions. If your dad knows people, it'd be fun to talk to him.
For sure. Yeah. And I used to work on this team. We had a great product development designer, but we made like mechanic shop stools and lights. But we also did like the winter windshield cover and summer windshield like covers for the cars. But we did little things like the dog covers for the back seat of the truck and stuff like that. But I could totally see that product developer thinking of some really cool designs for stowaway space in trucks.
That'd be sweet. Well, yeah, we'll have to stay in touch, please. I appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to, any last, I don't know who my audience is yet, but anything you want to say to them in the event that they're listening?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to like speak openly and ask questions. And I think that's the whole point of this podcast is asking questions about, faith, business, whatever. And thanks for giving me a platform to kind of just freely speak about those things.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here. And I'm leaving impetus on you. I've got too many irons in the fire, but if you want to come and do some biz dev stuff with the construction people, like I can find you some. We'd have to lead them to water a little bit. Probably we'd have to pay for the first one and for two.
Yeah.
And then you probably have a couple dozen, hundreds of people that would love to get on your program. So whenever you want to do that, let me know.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Better questions, fam. Wrapped up with Morgan. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think she's an interesting gal. Sounds like she is in a similar inquiry as I am. It's like, what does it mean to question the traditions of religion? Is that okay? It's murky waters for a lot of us. So I hope you guys enjoyed her. To the Pineapple crew, thanks for keeping us running. To the listener, thank you for tuning in. If you didn't like it, fill out a survey, and you're always invited to come talk to me. That's the big thing. If you don't like what I have to say, then would love to have you on and talk about it. Maybe I need to get an education. And if you did like it, you should tell a friend. Also fill out a survey. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever that good stuff is. I think we got shirts on sale now at ivoryimpact.com. And we're intentionally doing this without ads. I think ads effing suck. It took me a long time. Like, I just want to break that mold. I don't know who likes ads, but I don't know why we ever click on ads, but I think ads should be deleted. So join us in that movement. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.